Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Boink Studios, and check us out on boinkstudios.com, where you can see all of our projects, past, present, and future. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy Show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to the program, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 95 of the podcast, and if you're joining us today for the very first time, we will bid you welcome. If you're coming back for a repeat visit, we say, hey, thanks for checking back in with us. And to all those involved, we extend to you, as always, the customary laurel and a hearty handshake. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. Thanks for supporting. And hey, thanks for always being there, Doc. Episode 95. If you heard the jingle jangle just now in the intro, that was not a sound effect added by yours truly. That's actually my DOG. And I had to spell it out because if I say the word, he'll pop in here and show himself. He's a great little animal. Love the little guy. But, you know, much like my CAT, actually the cat doesn't care if I say cat because he doesn't care because he's a cat. But much like my cat, they're very friendly and they love to get, loved on and petted and stuff. But unlike my DOG, my cat doesn't really care. My DOG, however, cares immensely and always believes you have food. And if you don't have food, hey, you could just spend this time petting me. That'd be nice. That's what he's thinking. So we got a show to do here. So I'm going to get to the show. So if you hear the jingle jangle again, that's probably him. And it's interesting too. Like, why do I put the collar on him inside the house? That makes no sense. It's weird. So if he pops in the studio door here, then you know what's going on. All right, enough of that. How's everybody doing out there? Glad you are with us. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming on by and hanging out. If you checked out the last episode, you know that we spoke to Punishment Martinez, the current Ring of Honor World Television Champion. Great guy, a lot of heart, a lot of passion for the business. Dude is completely committed to his game. He has improved by leaps and bounds. He'd be the first one to tell you that over the years. Come a long way. And like we said, man, he's completely committed to the game. And he really is. You got to admire that about a guy. It's nice to talk to someone whose head is in the right place. Do you know what I mean? Who's not, of course the money I'm sure is nice. Earning a steady living is nice. Not having to go from paycheck to paycheck. That's tough existence, let me tell you. So, of course, that's nice. Getting your name out there, traveling the world, obviously, very nice, right? But the most important part is getting in the ring and playing your craft and doing what you love to do. And that's what he's doing. He's living his dream. And yet, you can't hate on that, man. That's good stuff. So, give Punishment Martinez a follow. Like I said, really nice guy. The column that I wrote, Ring of Honor recently retweeted, or tweeted, I should say. Podcast getting some nice action on that. Go listen to the show if you haven't listened to that one. Check out the write-up. It's on the Sports Daily. Go to the main page and click under the Combat tab. You'll find the floor seat. That's where yours truly is sitting on the floor seat. So, if you're on the floor, you're somebody because it's not cheap. Nothing cheap on the floor seat. Man, we could just make a whole program of just puns and whatnot and just dive into the double meaning behind the word there. But instead of doing that, let's just get to the topics, shall we? This time, the main event is Hulk Hogan, Daniel Bryan, and the G1 tournament. That time of year, folks, for the G1. We'll get to that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk about Hogan. Suddenly I started frowning. It's time to get serious, folks. Everyone just pay attention. There'll be a test afterward. All right, so Hogan is reinstated into WWE's Hall of Fame. By now, this is old news. It's going on 6 days, 7 days maybe, something like that. So you've already heard about it. You already have your opinion, I'm sure. Let me tell you where I fall on this. Anyone that knows me knows that I have always been an NWA guy. I grew up in the 80s, which means I was a huge fan of the territories. That was my jam. It still is. In the Punishment Martinez interview, we talked about the fact that this is the best time to be a fan. Can't argue with that. However, I still feel the best era of the business was the territory era. Well, I'm down south in the United States, so I knew Hulk. I knew of him. As a kid, of course, you're a fan because he's saying and doing all the right things. But no matter how many times I would flip my TV and find WWF wrestling, occasionally when I would find it, and I never really sought it out, right? As I got a little bit older, I did, because I wanted to watch as much different kinds of wrestling as I could. That progressed into adulthood, obviously. But one thing that struck me about him and everything in WWE at that time, or WWF, I should say, whatever. Yes, Vince had begun raiding the locker rooms. Yes, he had been taking the independent or the territory guys for a little while at that time. But despite how good these guys were, the wrestling wasn't great. And if the wrestling was great, they didn't talk about it. They didn't emphasize it. It was more the characters. It was more the spots. It was more the, the interview segments. Oh boy, here we go with that. The funeral parlor, Piper's Pit. And it's no disrespect at all to any of those guys, right? Legends, absolute legends. But I just got tired of it. It just seemed like, we're going to do this again with this. And the weird setup they would have in these arenas where the interviews would be done way up out of the ring, and, the talk show sets are way up out of the ring. And you're just sitting there like, God, can we just get back to the matches now? I think that was first indication that anyone had that, okay, Vince McMahon's trying to take the wrestling out of World Wrestling Federation. And it's so funny to me too, man, not to get off on a side rant, because we've talked about this in the program so many times before, but just this idea that we can't advertise that we're a wrestling company, yet that's what brings everyone to the dance. Do you know what I mean? It's insane. So let's get back to the Hulk Hogan debacle, shall we? As we all know by now, Hulk Hogan reinstated the WWE Hall of Fame, as we said, showed up in Pittsburgh and gave a speech to the boys and girls in the WWE locker room in Extreme Rules before the event went live. Been a lot of reports coming out of that. There's one wacky story out there going around that someone thought it was filmed. I'm going to tell you right now, and it's conflicting reports. Well, it wasn't filmed, Tom. Well, maybe it was. Well, it turns out it wasn't. I don't know. I'm going to tell you something right now. If WWE filmed this apology, filmed this speech given by Hogan to the talent, shame on them. I'm sorry. That reeks of theatrics. That reeks of, listen, Terry, we want you to go in there and we want you to tell the guys like it is, and we want you to be sincere, and we're going to record it and put it on the network. I mean, I guess in one hand you could say, the company's trying to bring you full disclosure, trying to show you every little bit, to show you that, yeah, this guy humbled himself. But isn't that sort of a plea for attention? Isn't it like, oh, not only am I sorry, but look, I spoke to the talent and they love me. I mean, I don't know, man. To me, it's one of those weird things where, like, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's needed. I hope it is just a rumor. I hope that nothing becomes of it, because honestly, they got no business putting that kind of thing on the air. I don't want to see it. I won't watch it. If it pops up, I will not watch it. I don't want anything to do with it. All right. So either you're sorry or not. And a lot of guys, Titus O'Neil, I wrote a column about Titus O'Neil clarifying his statements. A lot of people thought he had heat with Hogan, or that he had a problem with him. Something about Hogan didn't shake his hand. None of that happened. It's all a rumor, by the way. Titus went on the record on his Twitter account and told the whole world, hey, I appreciate the fact this guy is trying to change and wants to do the right thing now. However, I felt his apology was half-hearted. The idea that Hogan's telling everyone he didn't know he was being taped, that doesn't make a difference. You guys know that, right? It doesn't make a difference. If you're a jerk, you're a jerk. Whether you're a jerk on tape or not, it doesn't make a difference. Well, I didn't know, Your Honor. I didn't know someone saw me kill that guy. I didn't know that. I didn't know, Your Honor, that there was a witness to me killing some guy. How was I supposed to know that? Yeah, but you still killed the guy, right? He still said what he said. It doesn't matter if he doesn't know he was recorded. It matters, I guess legally, but it does not matter in terms of, hear the bird? God, it's crazy. I got like Wild Kingdom happening every day. It's insane. It's that summer, man. You know, all kinds of weird stuff running and floating and flying around out there. But yeah, man, it doesn't detract from the fact just because you rotate, just because you're on the record. I mean, technically, because there it is in front of you for the whole world to see or hear, or both, or whatever. It doesn't mean that you're not a jerk. Doesn't mean you're a terrible person, and he was. Is he now? I don't know. I don't know the man personally. I can't tell you what kind of person Hulk Hogan is. Don't know. Have no clue. But I will tell you this: the apology, in my opinion, does seem very half-hearted, and he doesn't have to apologize to me because he didn't do anything to me. But man, he's got a whole lot of people upset at him. And you know, as I said before, I grew up very, very aware of who Hogan is and whatnot, but I was never a fan because he wasn't a pro wrestler. And you can debate that all day long. You can at me all day long. Greatest pro wrestler of all time. Not even close. I'm sorry, not even close. Is he one of the greatest performers of all time? Absolutely. But to me, there's a difference between wrestling a match and performing in a match. And I know, maybe there's a fine line. Maybe it is splitting hairs. I don't know. But it's just how I feel, you know. But he's got a lot to be sorry for. He's got a lot to apologize for. He's just getting started. They're going to hook him up. Supposedly he's going to start doing public appearances again on behalf of the WWE and speaking out and whatnot. But I think you got a glimpse into what is really in this guy's head, what is really in this guy's heart and his mind. And it takes a heck of a lot to get rid of that. It takes a heck of a lot to change the way you think. It's not easy. I can tell you from personal experience, man, when you believe a certain way for so long, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort on your part, whether you meant to or not, to change the way you look at things. Okay? It really does take a lot. And it takes life happening in certain ways around you. It takes the people in your life supporting you, or maybe even turning on you because you are a certain way. And you have to focus as a man, not just as a person, but as a man. Dude, you have to, you know, you have to want to be different. You have to be able to look at yourself. You have to be able to step outside of your own head. Look at yourself and say, okay, I need to make a change. This is not working. I don't like the kind of person I am or I've become. Now, if he's done all of these things, great. Good for him. This thing is 3 years old now. So yeah, he's had time. Whether or not he's done it, I don't know. There's a lot of WWF fanboys out there who grew up with it in the 80s and during the Hogan era, and some people that only knew him as a leader of the NWO and had to go back and find out later that he was the red and yellow dude before that, you know. I was around for a lot of that. I was around for that 80s run. Right? I was around for the heel turn, and I was around for him coming back to WWF. And I just, you know, no one knows except him. But I'm going to tell you this, as a side note, pro wrestlers work you. That's their job. They're paid to do it. And the better they are, the more money they get paid. The more exposure they get. Pro wrestlers are paid to work you. And that's not saying that Hogan's not sincere. But when you look at his apology, at his supposed heartfelt sincerity, when you look at all that stuff through the prism of he's a pro wrestler and pro wrestlers work everyone, that's their job, then it suddenly becomes, I don't know how I feel about this. Is he really telling the truth? Is he saying what the company wants to hear because he wants to get back in their good graces? You know, Hulk Hogan is enough of an entity all by himself to earn a living for the rest of his life, and he has been. He's got money coming in from somewhere, right? He must, obviously. And you know, I'm sure the guy's been smart with his own money. He lives well, right? You would assume. But he needs the company behind him, especially for his public image. If he had never said those things, actually, if he'd never been recorded saying those things, because he would have said them anyway, supposedly, right? But if he had never been recorded, if the controversy had never broke out in the first place, the sex tape never happened or whatever, then he wouldn't really necessarily need a WWE. They'd need him. They'd use him. but he really needs them now. You know, if for no other reason, to repair his public image. It's important to him. It's important to everybody. Anyone out there that says they don't care what people think, I say that as well. I don't, to a great extent. I don't. But at the same time, you don't want people around you thinking you're a scumbag. You know? Because if enough people around you believe you're a scumbag, I got news for you, pal. You might be a scumbag. I'm just saying. So Hogan was a scumbag. Don't know if he currently is still a scumbag, but I'll tell you, he's got every opportunity to do the right thing, to walk the straight and narrow. But again, as we said before, changing the way you think, changing the way you feel, changing your mindset is the hardest thing in the world to do. I mean, honestly, it's easier to find life on Mars at this point than for a man to do that. It's extremely hard because you are the person that you are. You can do it. I'm not saying it's impossible. And yeah, you can find life on Mars. Maybe there's a whole bunch of stuff living under a rock somewhere we haven't found it yet. You ever think about that? I don't know. So it's possible, man. But like we said, at the same time, you have to want it. He wants to be back in your good graces. However, does he want to be a different man? Because it's the right thing to do, not because he has PR guys telling him that it's the right thing to do. I don't know. It's up to you. You judge him. I don't care. Either way, to me, I don't care. I hate that it puts a black eye, yet another black eye on the wrestling business, as if there's not enough of that over the years. And maybe I'm off on that. Maybe people look at him for what he is, aside from wrestling. I'm talking about outside of the little bubble that is the world of pro wrestling fans that we live in, that we tend to get stuck in quite a bit of the time. Outside of our reality of being pro wrestling fans, people look at Hogan as, oh, he's the guy, he's a WWE wrestler. Or they look at him and say, oh, Hulk Hogan, man, he's like a cartoon character. He's like an icon. Okay, so which opinion is it? I don't know. Up to you to decide. Like I said, don't know, don't care. But it's interesting, the whole thing. We'll see what happens moving forward. New Day supported him, but at the same time, they were very leery, as Titus was. It's like, okay, you need to prove it. It's not enough to say it. We don't like how you said it, but you need to prove it. So, I mean, kudos to them for being men and coming out and making those statements. They weren't trying to fry Hogan or, make him look or sound bad. I don't believe. They were just being honest. You got to remember, man, these guys are human, okay? And just like Hogan's human and made a mistake. But it's not as though it was a one-time mistake. When you make racial slurs in front of God and country, then that is vindicative of something else going on. Something else going on in your head. That denotes a way of thinking. And racism is a way of thinking, right? So a way of thinking is already ingrained into you. So one racist comment probably means you're racist. How many people do you know in your life right now that are not racist, that make racist comments? In fact, people that are not racist go out of their way to not make racist comments. I'm just saying. And, I'm one of them. I go out of my way not to make racist comments. Not because I want to be looked at as, oh, well, he's just holier than thou. That's not it. I just, I'm trying to be aware of the fact that there's just enough of that garbage going around in this world, and I don't want to be part of it. Now, I will tell you this, as a younger man, was I racist? You got to remember where I'm living at, man. I'm in North Carolina. Born and bred, lived here my whole life. It's tough because we're kind of surrounded by it. As a teenager, yeah, maybe I had a little bit of it, sure. But at the same time, as I started to go through the middle of my teenage years and out of that and into a young man, I really started to change the way I was thinking about a lot of things, and that includes other races and stuff. So it's possible he can change. It's possible he has changed. But, you can say whatever you want. You can support the guy or you can hate the guy. It's whatever. Like we said, New Day came out, said what they said. Titus said what he said about him, and you gotta appreciate that. They build a rapport. Like we were saying, man, these guys are normal dudes. They're normal men and women just like you and me. They have a job they have to do. They have to earn a living. They have to support their families. In that regard, they're a lot like we are. They're just like we are, right? Normal guys and gals. But at the same time, they're held to a higher standard because in the public eye, yes. But these men and women are constantly bombarded with fan comments, questions, interviews, public appearances. Can I get your autograph? That kind of thing. So good for New Day for speaking up. Say, hey, listen, we know our fans are curious about this, right? So you got to build a rapport with your audience, which is what they were doing. And I'm glad they did it independent of WWE. Whether or not WWE told them to do it, I don't know. But it's cool that they did that. So this is an open book right now, and Hogan had better be an open book. It's interesting to know. And the very next time it's going to happen, because it's going to happen. They're going to introduce him in the ring at some point. They are. They're going to hit his music and Real American Nonsense, and they're going to let him come out. And they're going to do their homework. They're going to find the right city for it to happen. They are. They'll find the right city, find the right crowd to put him in front of. And they're going to let him say what he's going to say. They're going to let him cut a promo, let him come out, do his thing. And it's interesting to see if the crowd's going to boo him out of the building. I don't know, man. Stay tuned. Stay tuned is all I can tell you. Let's move on. Let's move on to the second part of the little show we have here. Daniel Bryan. Okay, so I've written a lot about Daniel in the past week or so. My new gig on the Sports Daily. Plugging that again. There we are. Nice. So I've written a lot about Daniel the past week on that site. His contract is, and everyone seems to be in the same agreement or the same mind that it's expiring on September 1st. I don't know that Daniel has said that publicly. If he has, great. I don't know that 100% certain. But his contract's supposedly up September 1st. Everyone's like, well, this guy would love to go to New Japan. Can you imagine him in New Japan, versus Ibushi, versus Naito? Oh my God. Dream matches. I mean, Bryan's married with a baby. Come on, guys. For real. Ring of Honor Tom. He could work Naito. He could work, Ibushi in Ring of Honor. Heck yeah, boy. Okay. All right. But don't you think that Daniel Bryan's star is a little big right now to go to Ring of Honor? And this is not me throwing shade at that company whatsoever. I enjoy Ring of Honor. I think they're doing a bang-up job. They got a Madison Square Garden show next year, man. Can you imagine? I mean, that's a big deal, dude. That's a very big deal. And kudos to them for that. I wish them nothing but the best. I want to see them keep getting bigger and better every day. I do. Do you believe, and maybe I'll just throw it out there to you guys, do you believe that Daniel Bryan is a bigger star than Ring of Honor as a company? I don't know. To me, it seems that way. To me, it seems like Daniel would be a huge fish in not in a small pond, but, maybe not the world's biggest pond. Right? I don't know. But, so anything's possible. Then rumors came out that, okay, well, he's booked for events past September 1st. And they're not rumors, they're fact. He is. He's booked for several events. He's booked for this, what are they calling it? The Showdown? The something Showdown in Australia. He's booked for that. He's booked for a few other events. And we're talking up into November, December. So he's booked. Now, card subject to change. Yes, anything can happen. But as of right now today, he's still booked in those events, which means chances are he's probably going to re-sign. Well, then the story came out. Okay, there's rumors that Daniel Bryan has re-signed a new WWE contract. He has signed a WWE contract. I wrote that piece as well. Well, now there's rumors coming around saying that maybe he hasn't signed. Just slow your roll. Maybe he hasn't done it. They got to get him back, okay? Number one, do I think he's come back? Absolutely. Do I think it's already been signed? Yeah, I kind of do. If nothing else, it's been verbally agreed upon. And look at it this way. Anyone talking about All In, he can't appear at All In. He couldn't do it. And if WWE has not, if they've rescinded the 90-day no-compete clause, they're out of their minds. And I don't know that WWE would allow any wrestler to sign without the 90-day no-compete clause. And I don't think it's 45-day. I think it's 90-day no-compete clause, which means if Daniel left today in July, he couldn't be at All In September. He just can't. You just can't do it. It's not possible. So it would be, end of the year, first of the year before you'd even see him. I mean, fall of the year, end of the year, probably 2018, in another company. And that's a smart move, and it works to WWE's benefit because it allows that superstar, and it's not smart for the superstar. It's not good for them. It's good for WWE, right? Because that guy cools off. He cools off. So WWE's mind, and I'm speculating, I'm just throwing it out there to you, man. But in WWE's mind, okay, we let this guy, he sits at home for 90 days. After the 90 days is up, who's even going to remember this guy? Right? Now, that's not Daniel, obviously. I'm just making an example, giving my opinion on this, man. But that's where I'm coming down at. So, I don't know. We'll see. But I want this to happen. I do believe, in my heart of hearts, he's already agreed to something verbally on a handshake, and he's yet to put ink to paper. I don't know. That's my take on it, but I do think he's coming back. I think WWE needs him. Do I think he should be in the world title picture? Some fans have bagged on him since he came back to WrestleMania. I mean, legit. I mean, I cannot believe, and you don't have to like anyone I like. I don't care. And I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find anyone in WWE that everyone loves. I mean, I don't know. Austin, maybe? I don't know. Jim Ross, perhaps? I don't know. But to find anyone that everyone loves, so I get it. You don't have to love Daniel Bryan. You don't have to even appreciate him, I don't guess. But you got to respect him. I mean, dude came back from career-ending injury, potentially career-ending injury, and loves the business so much that he just wants to get back in the ring. But there were people, giving him a hard time when he came back at Mania, talking about, and I'm not, got into a conversation one day about, he's taking spotlight away from Roman. No one takes spotlight away from Roman Reigns. Please. It's not happening, man. It's just not. But they need Daniel. I think they need Daniel. I think Daniel's one of those crossover guys that could show up on any other program on TV, show up on anywhere else online, and be like, here's Daniel Bryan. Wow, dude, you've got a different look, and the yes chants, and Daniel I can just imagine Daniel saying, so, when you went to the baseball game or you went to the basketball game and you're all chanting yes, I kind of started that. That's me. You know what I mean? I think he's one of those guys. I think he's one of those guys that is a great ambassador for WWE to the rest of the world. And I think they need him for that. And I think that, WWE has some of the best, I can't say all of the best talent, but some of the best talent in the world today. And Daniel Bryan certainly qualifies as that. And, I've written several different times about whether or not Daniel Bryan should be elevated back to the world title picture, and when is he going to, and does he need to be, and why is the company not doing it? Just asking questions, and should he be, that kind of thing. He's on SmackDown Live where AJ Styles is the WWE champion. It's a big deal, man. It's a huge deal. So yeah, absolutely. I say get rid of all this nonsense with Brock on Raw. It's I guess it's working, but he doesn't care about it. I don't think he cares about it any more than he cares about anything else. I think he cares more about everything else than he does WWE. And that's not to say he's not professional. Don't let yourself, listen, real quick, on a side note, gotta do it. Don't let yourself get suckered in by this. Brock hates WWE, he hates wrestling, and he just doesn't want to be here. Listen, he's obeying the terms of his contract. His contract says he has 5 appearances a year, 6 appearances. He's going to fulfill 6 appearances a year. If he's asked, hey, listen, man, I want you to do a one-shot at a house show, I want you to do a one-shot event. Can we work that out? Here's the money. If I can fit it into my schedule and if I want to do it, sure. And I think beyond that, everyone is just freaking out over nothing. I love the fact that Brock does not on social media. He's not on social media. Paul Heyman does the talking for him. And Paul's not saying anything that's behind the scenes or pulling the curtain back. And he shouldn't. I love all that. I think that's great. And that's the way it should be, right? But it's this idea that, Brock is holding him up. He's not. This is what WWE wants. But so when I tell you that the ridiculousness surrounding Brock Lesnar, this is what I'm talking about. I guess it's working. I understand the point. I think people are tired of it. I think WWE wants people to be tired of it, so they'll hate him. I don't think ultimately that will even matter. I think that the time has come for him to, go ahead and jump to UFC. I mean, obviously he can't. What is it? He can't fight until January because of the 6-month drug testing policy for UFC, right? In my humble opinion, I think it's time to call it a day with Brock as Universal Champion. I don't know if they'll do it. If they don't do it, it's not going to ruin my day. But the point I was getting to was, if AJ's your WWE champion, put the Universal title on Daniel Bryan. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there, man. But I think they need Bryan as much as they need any of the other very talented guys. And just think of what a help he is in the locker room to the younger talents. Just think about that, too. So, yeah, let's get this done. Let's make this happen. Get this guy signed if he's not signed already. Let's move on because I'm ready. I'm sure he's ready to do it, too. Who knows? So, let's get on to the third part of the podcast. This episode's not going to be very long, by the way. I didn't have a whole lot of time to do this one. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the G1 tournament. I am, for a change, actually almost caught up this year, which is great. It's not been easy in years past to stay caught up on the G1. However, I'm doing a fairly decent job of it right now. So that's nice. I am on to, what is this, night 4, I guess it is. But yeah, I'm almost there. So it is what it is. But it's been a fun ride so far. I always appreciate the G1. I love watching it because I'm a wrestling fan. As we've said before, New Japan has its issues, just as WWE has its issues and that kind of thing. It is what it is. At the same time, again, I'm a pro wrestling fan. I want to watch as much content as I possibly can, and then comment on it, as it were. I worked that in. Did you like that? So there's been some things happening so far in New Japan, and I want to talk about it. And I've made a few notes here. I don't get a lot of opportunity to write about New Japan. It's not that people don't want to read it. It's just that the majority of people want to read about WWE. So you got to write what sells, right? I'm no different than anyone else, right? When it comes to that. But there's a couple of things I took notes on. I want to shoot them to you and see what you think here. But observations, that kind of thing. What's going on in the company, this, that, and the other. G1's a big deal. From what I've read recently, it might be the most financially successful G1 tournament they've had to this point, which is good. Anytime I hear that a wrestling company is making money, I'm happy. Because if the wrestling company is making money, hopefully that means the boys are making money. And if the boys are making money, that's a good thing. The more viable places to work for professional wrestlers, the better for the business, the better for the wrestlers themselves, because that means that the business is going to keep going. It can sustain itself. The more successful these companies become, the more sustainable the business becomes, and I'm for that because I'm a pro wrestling fan first, company fan second. Well, let's tweak that. Pro wrestling fan first, pro wrestler fan second, and then company fan third. I think that everyone should be that way, right? Which always drives me nuts when I hear guys taking WWE's side over a wrestler, and I'm always thinking, you're going to trust the $1 billion company over one dude? Come on, man. The $1 billion company with its, cavalcade of lawyers, high-priced attorneys, and expensive suits, and legal fees, and the spin machine, and publicity, and, cameras and production over one dude who was trying to earn a living. I won't go any more with the CM Punk thing. I'm just throwing it at you. Anyway. G1. So, a few different things happening right now. Tanahashi is the ace. And I say I'm in the process of getting caught up. I'm not quite through night. I think it's night 4. Because they start on the 15th, right? Or was it 14th? Maybe it's night 5. I swear to God, I'm caught up. Don't even with me right now. Because I am caught up for real. So, yeah. But yeah, man, let's talk about Tanahashi for just a sec. Tanahashi is the ace of New Japan. That's how he's advertised, and it's the truth, 100%. He's still the face of the company. He's still the top star. But the rise of Okada put Tanahashi in the background as the company kept moving forward. I can't say it's exactly the same, But, they always compare Tanahashi to John Cena. And I guess they do that for American fans because in an effort to make you understand what's going on if you don't follow the product. And I guess to a certain extent, yeah, I would agree with the fact that he is their John Cena. I mean, sure, I'll buy that, right? But, so I'm not sure what to compare that move to. But, I mean, here you have Okada, who came up through the ranks, who built his reputation, worked his way up. And it's just phenomenal. Okada is phenomenal. He is the number one wrestler in the world. And just because he lost the championship to Omega, I'm not going to... And Omega's very good. It's no disrespect to Omega, or even AJ for that matter. Or to some degree, Nakamura. But for my money, Okada's still the best in the world. But the double whammy, it's kind of like maybe The Rock and Austin, you could say. Or just imagine if it was, John Cena and The Rock. Right? If John Cena and The Rock were in their primes, both of them together in the same company in WWE, that would be Tanahashi and Okada. Just my take. So, Tanahashi, he's putting guys over now. He's in that position now, the John Cena position. He is in the John Cena position of putting guys over. He put Jay White over. Jay White's on a roll, man. Switchblade Jay White is on a roll. In the G1 tournament, he's beaten Okada. And he beat Tanahashi. That's a big deal. Let's talk about Okada. He's in a different place right now. The Rainmaker, the whole Rainmaker persona. I will tell you this. The first time I saw Okada after losing to Kenny Omega, the first time I saw him, he didn't have his signature coat on, his signature robe. He didn't have it on. His hair was different. He came bouncing out, had a smile on his face, jumped up on the ring apron. Pro wrestlers are extremely good. The best pro wrestlers are extremely good. And this is why they're extremely good. They know precisely what to do. They know precisely what to do to get the desired reaction from you. And the better the guy is, the more it works and the better they are at it. Here's why I say that. Okada comes out, he's bouncing around. Immediately, you know what I'm thinking? This dude looks like he just had the weight of the world lifted off his shoulders. And no sooner did I get that out, the next day or so, I'm reading online, oh, Okada looks like he just looks better. He looks, carefree and Don Callis on commentary of New Japan. Oh, it's a different guy, and the pressure's off. And I'm thinking, okay, cool, I was on to something. That's the point, guys. That's the point. The point is that Okada wants to get across the idea that, okay, I had this phenomenal run. Probably the greatest New Japan IWGP champion of the modern era. Highly regarded around the world. Not just New Japan, but around the world. And the New Japan app has helped with that. The New Japan World app has really helped with that whole notion of getting his name out there, getting his matches out there, the whole world to see. YouTube doesn't do him enough justice. Yet, listen, you got to drop at least $10 for the New Japan app. It's worth it. As much as the WWE app is worth it, and it is. $10 a month. Just drop it, man. It's so worth it. I'm just saying. And I know I'm not on their payroll, so shut up. But, and so you've got all that, and here he is, and he's, but being on top and being the guy comes a lot of pressure. So the second he drops that title, which he held for 700 plus days, insane amount of time, right? As soon as he drops that title, it becomes, I can breathe now. Because, man, Okada was always so intense. The expression on his face, he had a poker face when he would come out. Right? But you could see in his eyes, let's do this. I'm ready to kill. Let's get this done. I'm ready to get in this ring. I'm ready to kill somebody. I'm ready to put on the match of the night, match of my life. Let's do this. I'm ready to make this guy look better than he is. I'm going to make myself look better than I did last night. I'm the man. Let's do this. He's not lost a lot of that, but a lot of it has changed now. A lot of it is different. I mean, he's no longer the guy. He's still there. Nothing's changed except they took the belt off of him. This whole, and again, dude, Okada's one of the best because He gets it because it's intuitive, because he's not coming out with the same gear, which could have been a company call. I don't have any idea. But he's not coming out like that. And not only that, but his expression has changed. He's light on his feet. He's just, and so you can take that and you can run with it forever. And you could talk about, well, is he not taking it seriously now? Has he given up? Does he feel like, well, I had my time and I'm done. I don't care if I win or lose now. Because he's dropped like 4 losses since dropping the championship. That's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. This guy never lost. Right? And then suddenly he's John Cena and can't win a match. Who's the real John Cena in that company, by the way? I don't know. But it's beyond words. But like I said, he's so good at what he's doing that you're buying in. And you know something's different. But the only thing that's different is that he's dropped the title. Yes, his behavior is a bit different. His hair is different, whatever. Aesthetically, yes. But I'm talking about from the standpoint of who he is. Not at all. He's still Kazuchika Okada. He's still the man. But it's time to keep telling the story. It's time to go to another chapter. And that's what he's doing. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely working. And it's working because everyone is talking about it, right? But things are different now. He's no longer, Omega's the guy. He is. And I love the fact, people ask me, well, what do you like about New Japan? I love the fact that in New Japan, the champion's the guy. He's it. The champion is the guy, right? There's a lot of other guys, a lot of other great guys, but the champion is the guy. It's old school NWA. Ric Flair was the guy, period. It's not some Roman Reigns stuff I'm talking about here. I'm just saying, in New Japan, your title holder, your top title holder is the guy. He's the champ. He's the man. And that's Okada. That's who he was anyway. But now he's on the outside looking in. Everything has changed, and nothing's changed at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Does it make sense? It's a very odd time for Okada. And I'm sure the conversation's been had behind the scenes. Okay, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to let you roll with this. And I don't know, it's July, let's say, toward the end of the year. And then maybe next year we're talking Wrestle Kingdom. You get back to the championship. I have no idea. I've not read that anywhere else. I haven't read anyone's speculation. That's just me talking. But it would be difficult for me to believe, in all honesty, that Okada is going to be kept from the title forever. Do I think he deserves a break from it? Sure. Do I think he deserves it again? Absolutely. But how do you follow up 700 plus days as IWGP Heavyweight Champion? How do you do that? How would anyone do that? I have no idea. I used to think that you weren't in the modern era. In the modern era? There it is. In the modern era. It's good stuff. That you would not be able to follow up Punk's, what is it? 341 days, I think. 400, something like that. 441? 434. That's it. Pretty sure 434. Okada spent 720 days, folks. It's the longest title reign in the championship's history. And he had the most successful title defenses at 12. How you like them apples? That's good stuff, right? How do you follow that up? How would Punk follow up? Well, I tell you what happened with Punk. They dropped the ball with him. And that's the thing. You know what I mean? So, but that's WWE. That doesn't mean that's going to happen in New Japan. But again, we're talking about, where does he go from here? What is going to happen? It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. And I don't know who else in that company, other than Omega, would be anywhere close to Okada's level. There's Okada, Tanahashi, and Omega in terms of the top guys, right? That's, who else is there? You're talking about longest title reign of all time. That's saying something. That's not just handed out to a guy just because he's pretty to look at. It wasn't handed to Okada because of his ability to wear a do-rag or flex his muscles. I don't care. I said it. Whatever. I mean, it's, it was handed to him because he had earned it, because he deserves it, because he was the guy, right? And he still is the guy, really. But again, go back to the question of who are we talking about? Who are we talking about? That's in that company, honestly, that could rise up and do it the way he did. Punk had 434 days compared to Okada 720. Brock Lesnar's officially past Punk, by the way. Oh my God, by a long shot. Of course, he's never around. Don't get too bent out of shape over that, right? It's all storyline. Of course it is. We've talked about it. Moving on, right? But who else in New Japan could get there? Would they put the title on Minoru Suzuki? Is it possible? I mean, Juice Robinson just recently won the United States Championship. I think that's a good fit for him. Do I see Juice Robinson as IWGP champion? I don't know. I don't know. Makabe's held it. I don't think Ishii has had it, but I don't know if Ishii would be a guy that they would put in that spot. I don't know. I mean, Tongaloa is possible from the Grills of Destiny. Bullet Club, maybe. I'm just thinking about the top of the top, the best of the best. You know what I mean? There's only a handful of guys in WWE you could say at any given time can be WWE champion, right? So who else in that company? But, like we said, it's not the end for Okada. He's just getting started. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, you wait and see what the next chapter is, and you go from there. But the G1 has been good so far. And who else are we talking about in the G1 here? You also got to talk about other guys as well, not just Tanahashi and Okada. Suzuki's doing his thing. He's still in it, obviously. Toru Yano. Yano's still in it. They're doing something fun with him right now. We all know Yano's the comedy wrestler of New Japan, right? He's the sideshow act. He's the guy, right? But they're doing something different with him this time around because they're like, well, he wants to go legit. It's this idea that Yano's been like a career criminal or something, but it's time to play it straight. He wants to go straight, wants to be legit, wants to be taken seriously, wants to lead a normal life. So it's kind of what they're doing now. So he doesn't want to cheat anymore. Even though he cheats all the time. He's like, I'm going to do something different. So he's been standing toe-to-toe with all these guys. Stood his ground against Zack Sabre Jr. There's a guy that could be getting prepped for the IWGP Championship. I mean, not a bad fit. I'm not, he's, okay, all due respect to him. I say this with all due respect to him. He's awkward physically, which isn't ruining my day. It is what it is. But, like I said, he's awkward. But in the whole submission thing, Japanese wrestling, they love the submission stuff. They love the MMA stuff. They, getting down the mat and joint manipulation, which they keep reminding you is illegal, but they keep letting all of them do it. New Japan's ringside action is called into question more often than not. And as recently as Jim Ross, and, the whole deal with that. And I get it. But you can't hold New Japan up to the prism of WWE and say, well, they got to be that. They're their own company. And again, they've got issues just like WWE does. And maybe it's not the same issues. Maybe it is. But you can't, in my opinion, you can't sit there and say, well, they should be doing this, shouldn't be doing it. It's whatever. It's however they want to run it. They're not an American-based pro wrestling company. Do you see what I'm saying? But I can't say enough good things about the G1 tournament. We're getting off on a rant here. G1's been... It's entertaining. It's fun to watch. If you're a pro wrestling fan, how do you not enjoy the G1? For real. This is one of the best times of the year to be a wrestling fan. Absolutely, man. I'm digging it. You got to check it out. A lot of cool stuff happening. Conspicuous by his absence thus far is Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay Jr., heavyweight champion. I'm sure that's probably... Well, he was, right? But junior heavyweight league or division or whatever. It's probably got something to do with it. There's other guys that haven't been there. What about Los Ingobernables, Tetsuya Naito? Naito is as entertaining as anyone that you're going to see. I mean, for real. I mean, he worked the match with Kenny. Kenny's mocking him, then he mocks Kenny back. Really good match. Tetsuya Naito could have a great match with anyone in the locker room, and it would be money, and it would be 5-star, because he's that good. You know what I mean? I've been making a list lately of my, I don't want to call them dream matches, because that term's been so overused over the years, but just the idea of WWE versus New Japan in terms of who would you put in the ring against each other like their top talents. I got some ideas on that, but I'm not going to give it away right now. I'm going to make you pay for that. I'm kidding. I'm not going to make you pay for it. But no, man. Yeah, like I said, it's fun. You got to check it out. Ring of Honor has the streaming service, which I'm going to get next. Then I'll have 3 streaming services and a complete lack of sleep after that, right? I'm just kidding about that. Man's got to get his sleep. I'm getting older too. Not too old. I mean, it is what it is. Let's just say I don't have a whole lot of time on my hands like I used to, right? But all my time sucked up doing the pro wrestling stuff, which I love, by the way. I'm a fan, can you tell? All right, man, I think that's it for us. We've covered just about everything we want to talk about. This sucker ended up being like an hour, which is nothing I intended on. I thought it was going to be like a quick 30-minute podcast, but I couldn't quit running my mouth, which is a good quality to have if you're hosting a show. Just talk. Otherwise, you're tuning in to dead silence. You don't got to worry about that with me, pal. So, let's do some housekeeping before we let you get out of here. First of all, thanks again for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. You can find my work in various different places. First and foremost is thesportsdaily.com. And again, go on the main page, click on the Combat tab, just go to the floor seat subdivision of the Sports Daily, and that's where you'll find yours truly. Hello. Having a blast there so far. Shout out to Chris Featherstone. Thanks much for the opportunity. I've thanked him before. I'll just keep doing it because he's good. He's a cool cat. So that's all good. Wrestling Rumors. Yours truly is still there, pining away, of course. You can also find me on the Daily DDT, the Chairshot, which I only get to do once a week. I enjoy it, but that's all I've really got time for. And occasionally the Camel Clutch blog, which I got to get back on track with. I just got a lot of irons in the fire, man. Don't forget to check us out on boinkstudios.com. You can follow us on Facebook, at Boink Studios. Twitter, also at Boink Studios. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Tom Clark Writes. WRITES. Tom Clark Writes. Because that's what I do a lot. So, as we said before, man, go check out episode 94. Think you'll dig it. It's pretty sweet. I had fun. Hopefully he enjoyed it as well. Martinez, that is. And we do have other podcasts happening. We are inches away from doing finally another episode of Tom and Kyle's Comedy Action Hour, which I've missed doing. But Kyle's a jerk, and he's never available because he's such a diva, right? I'll show up when it's good for me. That's him. He doesn't know I'm trashing him right now. But if he says anything, just deny it and tell him it didn't happen, right? And, of course, the third podcast in the Unholy Trilogy from Boink Studios is Tom Clark's 30-minute fun show with me and my kid Wesley. And that'll be fun, right? Get back to that one here very soon. That's all we got for you, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for tuning in. And we will see you next time on Tom Clark's Main Event.